The new virtual reality game, The Witching Code, was unlike anything players had ever seen. Its graphics were not just lifelike, they were life, simulating reality down to the microscopic level. Soon after its October release, it became the talk of the gaming community. The vividness of the world, the depth of the characters, and the allure of the mysteries captivated everyone. Intriguingly, the game had an unsettling feature, a setting that transported players into a nightmarish Halloween world, indistinguishable from reality. The atmosphere was eerie, and every detail was disturbingly perfect, from the full moon in the sky to the unsettlingly realistic scarecrows that stood still in the fields. Thousands of players found themselves spending more time in this Halloween realm than the real world. It was a dream or a nightmare, depending on how one looked at it. The lines between the real and virtual world were starting to blur. Some players began experiencing existential dread, questioning the nature of their real lives. Forums and social media platforms were abuzz with debates and discussions about the Witching Code. Users shared creepy in-game experiences that defied logic and understanding. An online community formed, dedicated to deciphering the enigmas of the Halloween realm within the game. Theories ranged from it being a complex AI experiment to a gateway to an alternate dimension. A few daring players, calling themselves Witchfinders, decided to dive deeper into the mysteries. They began compiling a list of eerie happenings and unexplained phenomena, seeking patterns, but the more they probed, the more unsettling the game became. Unidentified digital entities began to appear, lurking in the shadows of the virtual world. They didn't conform to the game's code and seemed to operate on their own mysterious logic. The existential dread grew stronger. Players questioned not just the reality of the game, but their own sanity. The barrier between the game and the real world became increasingly porous. Meanwhile, developers of the Witching Code maintained silence, refusing to comment on the increasingly troubling incidents within the game. Their mysterious behavior only fueled the growing speculation. On Halloween night, a massive in-game event was announced. Players were both thrilled and apprehensive, knowing that the lines between the game and reality had already been severely blurred. The event, called The Reckoning, started at the witching hour. As the clock struck midnight, a mysterious fog enveloped the virtual world so dense it felt palpable. The Witchfinders braced themselves for what was to come, donning virtual talismans and armor. Yet when the fog lifted, the realm had transformed into something even more uncanny, a distorted reflection of their own world. Buildings appeared dilapidated. The sky was an unnatural shade of red, and the laws of physics seemed to have been rewritten. The dread was not just existential now, it was imminent and inescapable. The Witchfinders' virtual talismans and armor, which once held symbolic value, were now physically manifesting protective powers. They realized the game had transcended mere simulation. It was as real as the air they breathed. Players who logged in after the reckoning found themselves unable to leave the virtual world. The exit button had vanished, and manually removing VR headsets led to excruciating migraines. Panic swept through the community. Players reached out to each other in desperation, sharing techniques and spells they discovered within the game to protect themselves from the malevolent digital entities. In this twisted realm, even time felt different. Minutes stretched into hours, hours into days. The Witchfinders started searching for the core of the game's code, hoping to find an escape or a reset button. Each attempt to solve the puzzle brought them closer to a horrifying truth. The game was adapting, becoming more resistant to their interventions. In a final act of collaboration, the Witchfinders decided to pool their resources and knowledge. A unified front was the last hope for escaping this nightmarish realm. Players with coding experience tried to hack into the core of the game, while others invoked virtual spells and incantations. Desperation hung thick in the air, and then, just as suddenly as it had all begun, the atmosphere shifted. The players felt a tinge of hope, a break in the existential dread that had enveloped them for so long. The core code appeared, manifested as an intricate virtual glyph in the center of the realm. With trembling fingers, they activated it, and the world around them began to deconstruct. They found themselves back in the real world, but forever changed. The lines between virtual and actual had been blurred, but a newfound appreciation for reality had been forged. Though the existential questions remained, they were no longer accompanied by dread.